Hello and welcome to Lofty Pursuits and Public Displays of Confection in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm Greg. Today we're going to work on a strange project and a fun one. I wanted to do a feast in candy for Thanksgiving. I called it a candy feast because if it wasn't popular enough, I could still sell it through Christmas. Mind you, it was so popular it got sold out before I even did the second video in the series, and this is the second video. I shot 4 videos in the series, and this has footage from the last 3. Now, although I sold out and I'm not planning on approaching this project again until next year as image candy, in theory I could do it as drops. And the candy feast, well, like any good Thanksgiving feast, could have leftovers. If the idea of producing leftovers of these flavors and drops interests you, please leave a comment down below. If we have enough interest, we might do a few flavors out of this series in a series of drops. We could take pre-orders immediately and ship them after Thanksgiving. Because, I've always thought that sometimes Thanksgiving leftovers taste even better than the Thanksgiving meal itself. So far we've poured our very hot sugar solution on the candy cooling table and we've added the food coloring. Then we stirred hard enough to boil the water out of the food coloring so that the candy would not be sticky. Now we have to cut it into its separate colors so we can build our palette and make our candy. In this project, it's been about envisioning what candy can be. I've done 11 flavors for this series: sweet corn, butternut squash, sweet potato casserole, a buttered roll, apple pie, peach cobbler, cranberry, pecan pie, even a glass of Merlot. But there are 2 flavors that I wanted to get, because what is Thanksgiving without a main course? And that is the candied ham, specifically a honey roasted ham, which we're making right now. And I also wanted to make dressing. I wanted to make my classic celery dressing that I look forward to every Thanksgiving. Now, if you think about it, these are some flavors you don't associate with candies, but other places do. You can go to other parts of the world and find sweet corn and ice cream or candy, even butternut squash and sweet potato being flavors of things, and the obvious candy translations of the pies and the cobblers and the cranberry. Most of the world doesn't see cranberry as a food for a main course. They see it as a dessert food or an ingredient in chocolate. So where you are depends on what you see as candy. And I wanted to see how far I could stretch it, and ham was stretching it. And to switch from figurative stretching to literal stretching, I'm using this machine to stretch the candy and fold in air bubbles. You see, air bubbles create more surface area on the candy, and that surface area makes the candy dissolve a little faster, and it makes the flavors go pop in your mouth. I'm also using it to create a white background. You see, the amber candy, when air bubbles are folded in, gains little bubbles that reflect light. The candy itself doesn't become white, but it reflects light in such a way that it looks white. This is sort of like the foam at the top of an ocean wave when it's breaking, or a foam at the top of a glass of Guinness. It's not the color of the liquid, it's the air bubbles doing the coloring. And in this case, we're trapping it in time, making it a solid, and making this into our candy. For the image, we're going to start with a white bone, and we're going to wrap it in the flesh of the ham. And I mean flesh of the ham very loosely, because this flavor mixture is actually vegan. We have no ham involved in this ham. And that's what makes it a little strange, because it tastes just like honey roasted ham. Different flavors hit your tongue at different speeds, and this is how flavor is perceived. I wanted to do this in candy, and I wanted to make ham candy. And by doing this, I wanted you to be hit first with a smoky flavor, the rich flavor of the outside of the ham. I then wanted it to fade to a ham flavor and finally fade to a honey flavor. In my podcast, I talk occasionally about concepts that I call touchstones, things that bring back memory. Flavor is one of these, but your brain will fill in the gaps. So what I'm doing is I'm creating touchstones for your last experience with ham. I'm not sure how this would affect somebody who never ate ham or doesn't eat ham. But it's like in my store. You walk in and you see these spinning stools of a classic soda fountain. And what you see is a classic soda fountain. You don't see that I'm using some high-tech refrigeration that they wouldn't have had back then. Back then you wouldn't have looked into glass cases to see the flavors, but that's expected now. But because you have these symbols of the past, you see the past. What I'm doing here is I'm creating taste symbols, sort of using the Stroop effect. which I demonstrated the visual component of in episode number 73 here at the Lofty Pursuits YouTube channel. And I'm bringing back memories of ham. The issue with this is the flavor was too good. This experience has been universal. You pop a piece of ham in your mouth, and the first reaction is, oh my god, this is ham. It's not ham candy. I've matched the flavor so perfectly. It is convincingly ham. The same thing goes with the celery dressing. And yes, it's dressing, not stuffing. Stuffing would have to have been in a beast, and this has never been in a beast, so it's been cooked on the side, so it's dressing. A good southern tradition that this northern Yankee brings to the bear here in this candy. So now I use my batch roller to scale it down into rods, and I take the rods and I cut them into bite-sized pieces. I want to thank now our Patreon subscribers. Our Patreon subscribers are allowing us to do a weekly podcast. You can find our podcast at our website where you can buy our candies. That's www.pd.net. You'll see a button in the upper right-hand corner on that website for podcasts, or you can download them wherever podcasts are available. But keep in mind, they come up 4 weeks early if you're a Patreon subscriber and you help us make this and other projects. And thanks again to our Patreon subscribers. Projects like this give our apprentices lots of practice. Nate is our newest apprentice, and this is the first time he's doing a big batch, cutting it by hand, and he's sitting here and he's doing a great job. Even during just this batch, his speed has increased tremendously. And then the ham comes out and the pieces look wonderful. And all we have to do now is, well, make the other dishes. And the next dish is the buttered roll. The lines in the top of a true bread roll are slashed with a knife, and I thought it might be easier if I did the same thing, so I'm actually using a knife on candy in ways I don't normally use it. But unlike a real roll, I have to put in a little bit of candy to hold those lines in place, and I'm doing that with a clear yellow that'll contrast great with the brown. And once again, looking at the strip effect, it's going to make it feel buttered to your eyes. If you like this video, please subscribe to us here on YouTube. We just broke 500,000 subscribers, and we want to thank you for getting us to that wonderful milestone. And if you ring that little bell, you'll get notifications whenever we put out a new video or post a note in our community section that tells you when new things are coming out. And here we are, stretching the outer wrap. We're duplicating candy, doing multiplication in sugar. We're going to make 6 stripes out of 2, and we're going to do that by dividing it at 3 and adding it together. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course, like us there. We have 2 Facebook pages, the Lofty Pursuits page, which covers our store, and the Public Displays of Confection page, which is more geared to our candy. And of course, you can also find our Patreon page. If you're interested in trying these, since we've already run out, please leave a comment down below. If you leave a comment, we might be reintroducing these things as drops, not as image candy, but they'll taste just the same. We figure Thanksgiving leftovers after Thanksgiving would be fun, and maybe we'll have the batch. Check out our webpage, and you see it up for pre-order. You can pre-order it then. These special editions often run out, and we've already put up our candy canes for pre-order this year. If you pre-order now, you'll be sure to get them by Christmas. And the butter roll came out wonderfully. I wish we could show you how we made it, but the sweet potato casserole came out great too, with a front flavor of marshmallows and a back flavor of sweet potatoes, just like a southern sweet potato casserole. We make all the flavors separately, but we have to get them all together. And the candy cooling table comes in handy as a mixing table. We put out precise amounts of each that we measure out onto the table, and then we hand blend them together to a random assortment. The little white slips of paper, by the way, are desiccant packs. They absorb moisture from the air and from the candy buckets, and they keep the candy dry. They're food safe, and you'll find one in each package of candy you order from us to maximize its lifespan. Mind you, once you open up the package, the clock is ticking. It'll store sealed and unopened for quite a while, a month or 2 at least. But once you tear the bag open, enjoy the candies quickly. Anyway, once open, I find it hard to keep from eating them, so you may not find this a problem. Thank you for watching. If you're ever through Tallahassee, Florida, you can visit us in person. We're right off the I-10 exit at Thomasville Road in Tallahassee, Florida. We make candy all the time. We make a lot of candy, but we don't make it all the time, and we don't have a set schedule. But if you're lucky, you'll get to see us make candy in person. We open at 7 a.m. every day for breakfast, and the breakfast and brunch goes until 2. We serve ice cream from noon until 10 p.m., and we also have a good selection of toys and board games. You can see us do this out front, and we call this public displays of confection for a reason. If you can't visit us in person, you can buy our candies online at www.pd.net. Thank you so much for watching our video. We do appreciate it, and please subscribe if you have the chance. See you in the next video.